Okay, let's go back on the record. I'm looking at New Mexico statutes, section 38.5.1. This deals with drawing and impaneling jurors. And 35.
You mind if I write that down?
No, not at all.
Sir, there's a tablet right here you're walking through.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Section 38.5.1 says, a person who is at least 18 years of age, a United States citizen, a resident of New Mexico, residing in the county for which the jury may be convened, is eligible and may be summoned for service as a juror by the courts unless the person is incapable of rendering jury service because of physical or mental illness or infirmity, or it would cause an undue or extreme physical or financial hardship. And in section 38.5.11a, the court shall impanel jurors in a random manner. It talks about presiding over the impaneling of the jury panels, and we have how many this time? 5 or 6?
5 panels.
5 panels. Subsection B, the judge or the judge's designee shall submit questionnaires to prospective jurors to 1. Obtain any information that will aid the court in ruling on requests for an exemption or excuse from jury or postponement of service. Aid the court and the parties in voir dire examination of jurors or in determining the jurors' qualifications to serve on a particular jury panel, trial jury, or grand jury. And 3, aid in the determination of challenges for cause and peremptory challenges. That's it.
Yes, sir. And I didn't hear anything in there, with all due respect, about forcing prospective jurors to answer questions, other than that they should submit their qualifications.
So you think that that section that says that the judge or the judge's designee shall submit questionnaires to prospective jurors to obtain this information excuses the jurors from answering the questionnaires?
I think that everybody retains their rights as long as they haven't been convicted of a crime according to the law and the Constitution, to, if they so choose, refrain from answering questions. Is there no limit to the questions?
You don't have a Fifth Amendment right to jury questionnaires, not to answer jury questionnaires. This is information that lawyers need to know whenever they're picking a jury. What if you have somebody that had a background and he had been sued several times, and this is information that may need to be known by parties. If you're picking jurors for a particular jury, a civil suit, or in a criminal case, if they have some issues that relate to the criminal charges at hand.
It's not right for prospective jurors to be forced to answer various and sundry questions. It's not right. I came down here willing to serve, not to be grilled, but whatever question lawyers particularly want to ask.
It's not whatever question lawyers want to ask. This questionnaire is from the Supreme Court of New Mexico. It's been approved by the Supreme Court. It's used in all courts of this state. Everybody in this state answers these questionnaires, and it aids lawyers in questioning prospective jurors. Prospective jurors have a right to answer questions, have a duty to answer questions about certain issues concerning the trials that they may serve on.
If you think there's an issue with me, if they have an issue, a specific issue, then I'm willing to answer a question if there's a legitimate, specific concern.
How do they know if there's an issue if you haven't divulged any information?
The Supreme Court is not a Judge, the Supreme Court is not a legislative body. Courts should not have the right to force people and lawyers that are associated with them to answer, and that's what the Supreme Court in New Mexico is. They don't have a right to legislate from the bench. So I have that problem with it, plus I have the religious objection.
This law was enacted by the New Mexico legislature. This law was not enacted by the Supreme Court. The legislature said that the Supreme Court has a right to put questionnaires together, and so that's what the Supreme Court has done.
Yes, I understand. And in that reading of that law, I did not see anything in there, not even close, that said jurors shall be required to answer questions given by the Supreme Court, handed down, or by judges in general, or by lawyers, or anything like that.
Well, you obviously have a problem with the judicial system then.
No, I have a problem with groups or people that want to violate the Bill of Rights and other people's rights.
So you're not going to answer the questionnaire?
I do not want to answer the questionnaire. If you have a specific concern with me, just to try to be open, I will consider that. But I reserve the right to not be forced to answer questions like, where does your wife work and how many children do you have? That has nothing to do with sitting, no matter if it's said by the Supreme Court of New Mexico or the Supreme Court of the United States. There's a higher court than both of those. And the Constitution ought to be that higher court. It ought to be a higher authority.
The Constitution does not prohibit this questionnaire that we're asking you to fill out.
I understand, and it also doesn't force people to answer, which is my point, to answer whatever questions, just any and every question that comes down the pipe. There are over 50, probably over 60 questions on that form.
Any questions from counsel?
In relation to questions I would like to ask this juror?
Yeah, or the questionnaire itself. The questionnaire is really more an issue with the court administration here,
At
but
the current time. Okay.
but you can ask him any questions you want to about representing your
Yes,
client.
Your Honor. Well, first, I'd just like to say one thing. In his defense, on a lot of these questionnaires, some of them have only probably completed 20% of the questions. They've only answered 20% of the questions that were asked. Very few of them have answered every question that
Well,
is
Judge, I'm going to
provided.
object, and that's why we're calling these people back, because I don't think that's relevant to what we're doing. If he has any questions for this juror, I would ask that he ask them.
I think the question the judge was that he was asking me first to address was the issue of the questionnaire itself. Am I correct?
I think you were commenting on everybody's questionnaires, and I think that what he's asking you is if you have any questions for this juror.
Well, I didn't know that everybody wasn't completing all of the questionnaires.
If we had the one yesterday who didn't fill it out, and it must have got lost in the mail or something, but, I mean, as far as I know, people are filling them out, except the few and far between, like this juror. I mean, as far as I know, people are filling them out, except the few and far between, like this juror. I mean, as far as I know, people are filling them out, except the few and far between, like this juror.
Okay.
See, this is part of the problem. You lawyers, you have way too much power. Call them names. Go back and learn what's right, and then after you do that, learn the Constitution, Ms. Sam.
My name's not Mrs. Sanders.
Okay, what is it?
I don't think I want to tell you that.
Then don't ask me any questions.
I didn't, sir.
That's not right, Judge.
Do you have any questions?
For this juror,
Yes.
yes, Your Honor. Let me see here. As far as your political affiliation, what political party, if any, are you affiliated with?
Sir, that information can be obtained from the county clerk's office.
We shouldn't have to go down to the county clerk's office to find out that information. You can tell Mr. Boland what your political party affiliation is.
If I'm going to be questioned by the lawyers, I would like it done in open court and not in this secret setting. And I would like everything recorded.
It's recorded.
Made publicly available.
This is recorded, but we're doing this in chambers. And that's the way it is. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Taylor, you're accused.
Thank you. I take it I can have the one I wrote on here. The piece of paper I wrote on.
Yes, you can.
You want the juror to go back into the courtroom?
No, he can leave.
Okay, you can go ahead.